Whether it be my story or my guest stories, we all share parts of the human experience. In our own ways, we have all faced triumph and challenges, both joy and pain, both gratitude and grief. My life changed forever on October 11, 2019, the day I had a stroke. It had a ripple effect, not only for me, but also for those I cherish. Through grace, we are here today to pay it forward. It's my mission to focus on what brings us together and help people find their path through life stories. While on vacation in 2013 with her husband and 3 children, the unexpected happened. Dawn's husband passed away and life as she knew it took a new direction. This event led her to realizing that life was too short not to follow her passions. Dawn decided to make a change and move on from her production company she co-founded with her late husband. Dawn found her true passion and purpose in speaking, coaching, and training with small businesses across the country. I always say that everyone has a story, and Dawn clearly has an inspiring story. Welcome to our series, The Power of a Voice.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I'm going to kiss and tell, Dawn. We are friends. We have known each other for a long time, but I
Feel
didn't...
blessed for that.
Thank it equally. But I didn't really know you until a couple years into our friendship. Do you remember the conversation that you had with me and my son and your daughter in a car?
I do. Yeah.
Can you tell that story?
Sure. I think it was about, I met you through my business, my husband and I's business, and you had sort of been Tim, my husband's client, right? Like he was your contact at our company, I should say. And I always felt a little intimidated and had tried to wait, I want her to be my client. and sort of tried, and it didn't feel like it fit. Like you wanted Tim, and I was like, all right.
Play with him, okay.
Because I tripped over my words and felt very intimidated.
I have that problem too.
Mine was just anxiety. Had no good reason for it. And so, yeah, after getting to know you and feeling less so and feeling more myself, I think is when we were really able to connect as human beings and not about business.
So I admired you for your courage to tell me that. I didn't ever know that, right? And we bonded because of that.
Wow.
And I feel that you found this life, the other life. Tell me about all your lives.
Okay. So you want my 2-minute history?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I met my husband, married him very young. We had a couple of kids, also very young, and started a business because we thought we could do better and give more to our family by doing so, and did kind of the traditional small business owner, run the rat race, run a treadmill, never really felt like I was in the driver's seat of my life.
But do you feel that your husband was in the driver's seat?
Not always. I mean, I think that it was his passion. The business was certainly his why and his passion.
Yeah.
And I was along for the ride, but both of us sacrificed so much to our business that I don't think we were ever really truly in control of our life. And then I think, at one point, I think I look back on the 30 years now that I've been in business.
You're going to tell how old you are?
No, I didn't tell you how young I was when I started it. I was 5.
Yeah, okay.
So I think there's 2 big catalysts for change when I look back at my life. And the first was this moment of, I got to quit this. I got to get out of this. I can't work this hard anymore. And knew that there was no way I could stay and get out of it, right? I would be sucked back in. Like I would have to actually leave my husband, who I didn't want to leave, to get out of this rat race. And so instead, did all the business stuff, read every business book I could, joined mastermind groups, things like that. And we put a lot of processes into place to sort of make things better. And there was a lot more life balance. If I look back on that, I put myself into every one of those processes and procedures because control, fear, and ego, like I was afraid to let go, and it fed my ego to be that needed. And
me too.
Yeah, right? Like when you're running a small business, it's like, oh my God, I can't let go and let other people, right? And then the second big catalyst for change was in 2012, our sons were 18 and 2021, and I found out I was pregnant, which was definitely not the plan, right? To start a marathon after you're just at the finish line. So 4 days before our youngest son graduated from high school, our third child was born. And 3 months later, in August of 2013, we were on vacation in a freak boating accident. We lost my husband and my business partner. And I will say that during that trauma was the big mind shift change, right? Like I had a newborn and these boys that lost their dad, and I didn't care what happened to the business. Like, and it kept going, right? The team picked up the ball and ran with it. And so I was given this gift of sort of a forced letting go of that vine.
To trust.
Yeah, right. They did it, right? And they were also going through their own stuff, right? Their own trauma over one of the partners having, what's going to happen to us and our jobs and all of those things. And so then over the next few years, I just kind of went a full-time job of discovering who I was and what I was here for and, what my passions were. And
Tim passes away. Today you have this productive life that you can speak. In between, what were your hurdles? Yourself, your employment, your kids?
The first hurdle is deciding to learn who I was, right? And say, okay,
And
what do you want?
Were you, in those 4 years, were you ever embarrassed? Like, why can't I do this? Why don't I know better?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I had to, I had to take over Tim's team, right? Whole bunch of young men and be their boss. And that, there was some challenges there, right? And
with Emmy on your back. Hey!
Literally, like coming to work and sitting on my desk and, and being taken seriously in a different role.
So my first was the realization that I talk for a living and I can't talk. Right. Who's gonna answer my phone?
Yeah. Right.
Will they think I'm stupid? Right?
Yeah. Right.
You went through a discovery period for 4 years. But how old were you? Oh, now I'm gonna ask.
Not just
how
ask.
old were you when you just opened your mind and had a voice?
Well, I was 44 when the baby was born. It was just this life lessons of, wow, I spent a lot of time in those typical happy hour, same shit, different address conversations, venting about what was wrong with my life and what was wrong with my marriage. And I knew that I didn't want to spend another moment not in the light of gratitude.
So did Emmy change everything?
Yeah, I think, gosh, when I found out about her coming, I cried for 2 months. Right? But once, we lost her dad, she was a life raft. Like I knew the next thing was keep a kid alive. Like, regardless of what my future looked like, it was get up and make sure you feed a baby.
And so, for a woman who's trying to find herself first trying to find her voice. How do you feel that people interacted with you?
It's hard, right? It's hard for people to know what to say. It's hard for people to know how to help or to offer help. And I also know that during that time, I didn't ask for a lot of help, right? And I didn't want to share what was going on in my head and be a burden to everybody else that was also grieving him.
Because
and
you
things like that.
were the caretaker.
Yeah, right. Like I'm not going to vent to my sons, right? Yeah. They're 18 and 21-year-olds who, like they needed me to be strong. So I spent a lot of time during that time kind of in what could have been a little bit of toxic positivity in that, like, only walk in the light of gratitude, only look at what's good,
You did that just off the bat?
Yeah, I think so. And it was I think it was a coping mechanism, right? To just like, okay, don't think about the bad, don't think about the hard, just be happy because life can be over so quick. So and grief will come out sideways if you keep doing that.
So my experience, when I say I had a stroke, people like back up. Like, what's that? Right? Yeah. And they see I open my mouth and I talk funny, but the vulnerability of that speech makes them confess their issues, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm saddened, like you talk about grief, how many people like push it down? And what's it going to take?
Right. And that's so important what you say, that vulnerability. I think that when we are real and we're vulnerable and we're strong enough and brave enough to share it and to say, this is what happened and this is, and this is how I grew through the trauma, or, it gives people permission to get off their island of, I'm okay, I got it.
Yeah.
And share what's, that we
so
all have
I was
stuff.
A bitch before, like, and now, but now I have learned, like, to soften, right?
Yeah.
To trust, to have grace.
Yeah, when you're in this place of vulnerability where, oh my gosh, I do need people.
Yeah.
I can't do this alone. Then you better get a little softer. You're not going to get a lot of help, right?
So tell me what happened in your next life.
I think I definitely wanted out of the business as soon as possible. The plan was to sell. And at that point we had 3, which, once you start learning to run businesses, you just, let's start another one. Visionary and shiny things. I knew that it wasn't my why and I wasn't passionate about it. I had found passion in kind of the people part and, the processes and systems and things like that. And so I wanted to sell. And then my oldest son came to me and said that he really wanted to take it over. And so we did a lot of work on like, are you doing this because it's some kind of legacy and you feel like you have to? Or are you doing this because you want it?
Don't tell that to my son. Okay, go ahead.
And that's when we found EOS, and I knew that was the right system for him to have the vision for the next stage of the business be his vision, and not mine. Okay.
You found EOS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because why? What were you looking for?
I wanted to make sure that I set him up for success. That if he was going to go forward, that I could truly get out of it and not set him up for failure as a mother.
Okay. Why couldn't you do that on your own? Why did you seek help?
Because I think that there's something about the mother-son dynamic, right? Like, and I knew that what I would do is shove what he should do down his throat. Right? Right? And I also knew that what's true is it had to be his idea. Right? So if we had a professional who knew what they were doing, right, and had the system, he could make those choices, and and that vision could be his, and the systems and the that we set up could be his.
And you then went on to...
So yeah, during that process, and there was a lot of doubts during after losing Tim and having him be the full force of that business, both physically, like physically doing the work, and passion. I didn't know that I could do it. I was very afraid of losing it all. I mean, I sold my house, bought a house, that I could afford. I mean, I had this whole plan of, if this all goes south and I can't do this on my own, like, I can still pay these bills on Starbucks salary. Like, that's how I set my life up. What happened during those 2 years, 2017 to 19, is that we increased revenue by 30%. We increased net by 260%, the best 2 years of the entire history of the business. And so I knew not only that he was going to be good and the business was set up for him to take over and be successful, but I had in that time also found my passion and what I knew I wanted to do. I love small business owners. I love entrepreneurship. I think that entrepreneurs can and are and will continue to change this world for the better. And where people come to work with their whole heart, head, and hands, and be seen, and go home and love their families better because they're not a number, and it's part of corporate America.
How do you coach a team to be honest with each other?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. It is tough to have a team be open and honest and vulnerable. And it's just about creating that vulnerability-based trust. That's a Patrick Lencioni. 5 behaviors, want to give credit where credit's due. It's setting up exercises, conversations, team health, trust stuff where they can slowly share little by little until they realize that this team in this small business is a circle of safety, right? Like the military sets up, that where I think corporate America does the opposite, right? Everybody's stabbing each other in the back to get everybody else's job, and how can they possibly go out and do their best work in the world when they're afraid of getting stabbed inside?
Okay, so how do you conquer the bridge?
The bridge between
the small business or the corporate America. Small business will grow into a big business, but corporate America, how do you make them change?
My hope, and I don't know if this is far-fetched, my true hope is that small business becomes so strong, and that people realize that they need to matter at work. They need to be seen and heard, and that becomes more important than climbing the ladder or the benefits or whatever the glory feels like it is in corporate America. And the big has to start growing with heart, right? And start caring about their people if they're going to compete against us.
I was in Uber this past weekend, and the girl worked for the convention center. She got laid off, and she didn't go back because, really, what do you want? What do I want to do?
Right. I think that, it's the Great Resignation.
Yeah.
It's 4 million. It's over 4 million people who quit their job in August.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because people are going, wait, what is life about? And what
so
do I
you're
want
going to have a whole new client base of all these people.
I don't know. I hope they all start
Call
small businesses.
1-800.
Yeah. I don't know, but I do think people are realizing what's truly important.
Yeah.
And I think, and that makes me so happy. It's why I want to do what I do, because life is short and it can be even shorter, right? And the last thing I want to see people do is work their life away. And, instead of living fully and passionately. And
So if you could use an example like the EOS that you showed or shared with Josh in the increase in revenue, right? It's a proven commodity.
Yeah. I mean,
So pay attention, Lori. Listen to what Dawn says.
you do. What was your experience? I mean, we started down that road.
Yep. We started. I thought I knew everything. Lo and behold, I didn't. But you did it gently, right? First, my first memory is about the personality test that you got each girl to tell a story about the why.
Yeah, it's that
That's no offense, but that's basic. But you got them
it's
to
not.
open, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's basic, because how many of us just go through life, self included, not ever asking who I am.
Yeah.
Right? We just assume that this is how we all are, and they bother me because they push my buttons and they're doing it wrong. When you realize, we're all different. We prioritize a little differently. And when we discover those things about ourselves, like how much better life and interactions between coworkers and families and it can be when I get you and you can stretch your rubber band to get me,
Isn't it sad that we have events in our life that says, oh, wake up.
Yeah, it is. I say that all the time. My true goal or passion is that you don't need to lose someone or have a stroke or have something traumatic happen for you to wake up and say, what do you want? Who are you? What makes you tick, and what's your mission, or what's your gifts? Why were you put on this planet? Do that. Just stop doing everything else and do that really well.
So how do we find you, Dawn?
How do we? AbbottCoach.com.
Good plug.
Thanks.
But I'm honored to be your friend, and I'm honored that you can share and be honest with me, because it takes courage to admit a fault.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way about you. I feel very blessed to have you in my life. And I wish you didn't have that trauma, but I see the growth that is happening, and it's beautiful.
Because you taught me.
No. Life is taught you.
Yeah. But thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a story to share? I'd love to hear from you. Please visit LoriCorken.com. There you will find more stories like the one you heard today with our series, The Power of a Voice.